I kind of think about, cross media impulses a lot, like things that are consistent from audience to audience, form to form.
Give me an example before you give me an example of this somewhere else before you get started with the actual thing that you're talking about.
An example of this? Okay, sure. So, a fun example is kind of how fans of only one pop artist treat music, and how fans of only one, say, shonen series like Dragon Ball or some shit treat anime, right?
Oh, sort of like how like Beyonce stans will act like they are a political party
Exactly,
or like a
exactly.
country. They act like they're a sovereign nation and will like talk about other stands of other fandoms like they are enemy countries and they are engaging in real politique.
There are people who do that for fucking Katy Perry. It's such a sad fate, whatever. But yeah, that's one type of thing. And I found a real small example of like that kind of interesting shared experience. Because this week we read Frieren, right?
Well, I watched.
Right, I read 37 chapters.
I really do think that you should watch. I know that like time thing, absolutely. I do get that. I think you should follow this up just for your own sake, for your own enjoyment, just because you'll get something out of it.
Excuse me, sir. I'm tapping the source material. I am here with the source zombie. Whatever. The point.
But
My
I'm
point,
here with the elf mommy who has the elf mommy voice in the dub. This is one of the only times where I will say definitively, watch the fucking dub.
Wait, I don't. Not wondering if I should, dude. Do you know what a fucking psychosexual mess it is up here already?
No, you have no idea. You have no idea. It's practically a fandom meme. But I'm not trying to connect with the Frieren fandom or really any fandom for that matter. So I'll just
Listen, the impulses I have followed that fucking black H on the white tile background, the places it has taken me, is like Artorias walking through the fucking desert, like through the fucking abyss. Not the point. So my original
not
point,
the point. Not the point. Not the point.
3 layers of madness, and I should just delete all of it. It doesn't matter. There was a show with a small hardcore fandom called, like, it was a comedy called Cougar Town, right?
Oh yeah, Bill Lawrence. What he did in between Scrubs and Ted Lasso, I think. Right? I think.
Yeah, our friend
Yeah.
Dan, hardcore comedy guy, super into it. And they had an interesting experience because, for marketing purposes, they called the show Cougar Town and did 2 episodes as Cougar Town. So whenever they try to evangelize their baby, be like, oh yeah, that bullshit, sure.
Sort of like how Spice and Wolf is a really good light novel series, but all the a bunch of the English release covers were just like these salacious sort of illustrations of Hollow not wearing any clothes.
Exactamundo, exactamundo. So softer example here. But Frieren uploads all the worst. This is just Dragon Warrior bullshit in like the first 4 panels. And I am about to chuck this and go back to trying to do fucking heel flips into a fucking thorn bush. And I'm just getting these texts from you. Please believe me.
I didn't even believe it myself. I think if you go like 5 or 6 episodes back, I almost feel kind of not ashamed of myself necessarily, but kind of embarrassed that I'm acting so much like fucking Shaq about like 1 or 2 series, just because I believe that I was kind of bad mouthing Frieren because of the sort of isekai, post isekai, I guess, elements that it utilizes, and just to me, right, almost anything isekai adjacent is fucking yeah, it stinks of sewage to me. So, or at least it does. At least that's my knee-jerk reaction. So,
I mean,
I
I have
get
a knee-jerk reaction too. It actually compares closely. Completely different tone, completely different aims, completely different results. But I would actually compare the experience, or at least my experience of this comic show, etc., to Konosuba, in that it just bets its foundation on this whole stock universe set of associations, set of like shorthand
Yeah.
for its storytelling and everything, and just knocks everything else so well that I just sort of sit down and say, okay, well, I guess it's my life now. But I have a more esoteric metaphor for it. So we're 3 metaphors deep now, but in fact, just to be clear, I enjoy this comic. In case you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about with the rest of these people, I have had a good time with Frieren so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the odd experience of reading it in terms of its attachment to all of this post-isekai mock Dragon Warrior bullshit. I feel like a post-apocalyptic tribe has been left only with stories of isekai. And I've come back 1,000 years later.
They have literary rebuilt canon now.
Yes. And they have rebuilt, and here is this random set of this short personal stories where all of the foundations of like understanding the language, the iconography, the symbols, the language people are using is in this isekai rot. And I'm gonna look outside of the window and I'm going to see the Statue of Liberty and be like, oh shit, this used to be humanity.
There's a point where, yeah, I do sort of... There comes a point, and I guess we have arrived at that point, where it's just been there for so fucking long now. Anime has just been in isekai for so goddamn long that it's
like passively accepted, just sort of part of the background radiation.
I guess, yeah, just a little bit. It's sort of like how if you oh god, what's the metaphor that I'm looking for? It's like, I don't know, it's not quite that they boiled the frog, because I still like refuse to, like, solo leveling is still trash. But it's like there's something in the air that was introduced very, very gradually, and you just like, now I'm just so used to breathing it that, it would have killed me at these levels, had they introduced them, right at the gate, right? But here I am watching this thing, and I have been so bombarded with shitty fucking power fantasy after shitty fucking power fantasy, dozens at a time, every single season, that backing up from that the way that Frieren does, and just uses the, okay, here's a generic, fantasy setting that could be the setting for any given JRPG or tabletop RPG. It's like, you've seen it before. It's all the shit that you like. It doesn't matter. Like, that's not what yeah, it doesn't register to me as much anymore, and I'm part of me is sad a little bit. Part of me is,
it's like, have I been
like,
so
resigned?
Worn down over time?
Yeah, part of me feels like the sense of resignation. The other part of me wants to interrogate, well, was it so bad to begin with? And I'm a stubborn son of a bitch, so I'm not, in fact, ready for that conversation yet.
I mean, I'm ready for the conversation, but it's just going to lead to me quadrupling down by the I'm Right tree in the town of I'm Right and the principality of I'm Right. I don't know if it's productive. We can totally do it.
Alright, so
the essence I kind of get from it.
Yeah.
I remember just in the old sci-fi tales. Remember all that John Carpenter shit of Mars?
John Carpenter or John Carter?
Carter, fucking
Carter.
John
Yeah,
Carter.
yeah. I was like John Carpenter of.
To be fair, a slasher fic in that setting would be kind of majestic. Like, it's just a human serial killer. Oh my god, can we write that fanfiction? We need to get Blitz one weekend to write that. Okay.
I would just appreciate if he were only involved in a John Carter sort of production, adaptation, whatever, insofar as the music, that would fucking rule.
But okay. But I think of this John Carter thing, and I just wonder, did somebody who just wasn't creatively handicapped look at the fucking isekai landscape and say, I could be king?
And for the pedants out there,
yes, We know it's
for
not
the
the literally world transfer thing, but we're just using it as shorthand for like the world is very video game mechanic coded, the way to describe magic fighting or people have classes, etc.
mm-hmm. It's
Because that is totally hard loaded into Frieren, which, by the way, in terms of how much I've been poking on this point, I probably should re-establish that I have super enjoyed just because of its approach to storytelling and characterization and just it's almost a lesson in how much of the window dressing of things that we often pick apart doesn't matter compared to these fundamentals of storytelling. It kind of makes me wonder how much you could get wrong and just keep those things right.
yeah, I that's one thing. The other thing that I'm thinking is I'm still in my head a little bit stuck on the RPG mechanics universe thing, such a bad thing because specifically because of I rewatched Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves a couple weekends ago. And they kind of do that, right? They kind of do
Okay,
that.
that is as caked into context as that could be though. Like that is a demi-humorous thing for like a D&D branded thing. If there was a fucking Dragon Warrior movie that have took the same approach, I wouldn't be as chafed, you know?
Yeah, maybe I'm being very very conscious of like maybe okay, maybe we're right. Maybe I'm right, maybe you're right. Maybe
I have no maybes around being right.
it is just shit in this, in the context of, like how it's used in anime, but I want to be very sure that you're right. That I want to be sure that this is I'm interrogating.
Can I make I'm going to give you a very strange example.
Okay.
A competent, character-focused, intelligent writer could, if they got a wild hair up their ass, totally make an extract style drama or comedy about the fucking production of panties. The average random fucking panty shouter joke in anime is still fucking trash.
Yeah, okay. I don't know that it I don't know. I'm gonna have to sit with this one for a second. I'm gonna have to sit with this one because I liked Frieren so much. Is that like I liked Frieren so much, or maybe it's just the fact. Maybe okay. Here's what I think. I think it is just the fact that they dial it back so much, and there is actually perhaps a distinction between how the whole we're playing a video like this is a video game where like it exists in the context of video game mechanics, just how that's used in the things I like versus how it's used in the things I don't like. Okay, all right. Right? It's just fucking I can't stop.
What I would kind of give it is even just the things that you like or even intensely like aren't necessarily perfect. Like I would just say that a main flaw of Frieren is that it is a fantasy thing that in its world building, essentially, there's all this great high effort stuff around it, but it kind of did pack into the core this sort of lazy shorthand that it kind of spends a lot of time just doubling back and spackling over better shit.
Yeah. Okay. If there are a couple things, if there are one or two things that do bother me about Frieren, it is the fact that they, I don't know. I guess organically in a universe where adventures are a thing, which is not really a kind of universe that really ever could have existed in real life. So we don't really have a whole lot of context to draw from here. But in a universe where adventuring parties could exist, I guess organically conversations about party composition could come about just given that someone might spend their life studying, magic or to the pursuit of studying magic, and someone might spend their life, dedicated to, kicking ass instead. I what I don't love, right, is when someone literally says the word class. Um, it's just it's such a minor thing, but like it's such a small thing that has such a giant just impact on just the level of engagement. And I don't think that I'm being anal retentive when I talk about how much that
No,
fucking
I mean
bothers me.
this is entertainment media. I think that talking about the experience of it is important, why it works, why it doesn't work. It occurs to me that there's something I have left out of this conversation, though.
Which is,
It's a minor point.
yeah.
So Frieren is a recent fantasy drama that comics/anime that a lot of people are into these days.
It's actually one of the it is becoming a generationally popular / important anime. So it was probably about time
Yeah,
that we
and
talked about it on this.
and it's picked up a lot of momentum and fans. It's been it kind of grew to the point that it became undeniable that even I, seeing all these external signifiers saying, you could sleep for like 5 whole hours today, Denardin said, got in there to check it out. And in brief, it is about an extremely long-lived arcanist, mage, wizard, whatever word you want to use for it, sort of learning to reconnect.
She's an elf, that's important.
Oh yeah, true. Though I guess wizards are sort of stereotypically associated with living a long time. So in the summer, you could get away with it. Whatever.
Mm.
But just trying to reconnect or connect for the first time to life as it is experienced by people that do not live for fucking ever. And naturally, storytelling wise, that can feed into all kinds of ways of feeling disconnected from various communities. To, you're not part of this culture. To, you're not neurotypical. To, you just haven't seen this friend or person or family in forever. It's a surprisingly versatile metaphor. I see why the creator was so drawn to doing all these short story bits with it.
Yeah, I like its vignette sort of structure. Okay, so here's, to your point, I really like that Frieren as a series does not seem to be particularly didactic. It doesn't seem to be pushing any, like objective truth or anything that, the author has decided and is coded into, the central metaphor or whatever of the work. It's oh god, where's there's the interview that Willem Dafoe gave where he's, I think the metaphor he used was like, it's the work as a train that like is taking you somewhere, right? And how that's, I don't know, that's not necessarily the best way to go about doing it, because like, what do you fucking know, right? Like, what do you know? Like, you're just the fucking author. What you have decided on is, the case, right? What you have decided on is the point of the thing. It's not all things to all people. So I sort of like how open-ended Frieren just as a series is. It more, I guess if there's a way to kind of bring it home, I really like when shows, I mean, sometimes there is a point to be made, right? Sometimes, like Andor, right? Which I will not fucking shut up about, is definitely not, you're on the train, right? You're on the train. There's a point to be made there. An important point, even. But Frieren is this show where it does not end in a exclamation point or even a period. It ends in a question mark.
So I don't think it beats you over the head with it, but I have to ask, discussion-wise, it seems to me that the whole thing is built pretty clearly around, like, life is not over wherever you're at or whatever age you're at. Like, it seems to very much recurringly be about life as this ongoing journey and reconnecting with your environment. You could almost call it inspirational fucking post-plague fiction, as far as I can tell. So I'm not sure. So I guess I'm not sure I would necessarily buy all the way into the fact that there's not a recurring overt point.
Well, okay. So for a reason, I'm feeling kind of pedantic today. There, to me, there's like a little bit of a difference between a show that has just kind of broad themes on its mind, right? Which Frieren definitely does, right? Just themes of like time and how it is spent and how we spend it, and relationships between people, and just emotional intelligence. And everything that they're getting at with demons is interesting, and I'll get to that. But to me, it's not a show that comes to any one conclusion about any of the things that it is talking about. It sort of presents you with this big slate of, people's experiences with all of the things that it is talking about / has on its mind. And you're kind of left to make of that what you will. Like if it were so very clearly, a metaphor for just like developing empathy as an autistic person who does not do that naturally, right? Which I get it. If it were about that, and if it had, one thing to say about that, or definitive thing to say about that, then that would be one thing. But I'm not really sure it does. It like I sort of, I have this sort of interpretation of Frieren as, yeah, an autistic character who has sort of manually developed an empathy over the course of, her 1,000 years of life. But like I said, it just feels more open-ended to me than it does didactic.
I'm spinning that one around my head. Okay, fair enough. If that's where you're at with it, I guess I would argue that the central gears are perhaps louder and plainer than that, but I don't think it hurt. I don't think either really hurts the show.
No, no,
I think it.
no, I don't think so. Like I said, they're good shows that are making a definitive point on purpose.
And yeah, the thing that sort of again pulls its head is like it is very rooted in these short character-driven vignettes. You could almost be. I was about to compare it to Kino's Journey, but that actually is way more about their environment in like this borderline Calvino way. So that's probably actually a anti-comparison. In fact, one could even criticize Frieren for its sort of thinly drawn environment in terms of the isekai thing. It is more about these making these internal moments be felt slowly.
You know what it reminds me of? Just a little bit. Not one-to-one here at all, but it reminds me just a little bit of When Harry Met Sally. Just in the...
So here's my confession as someone who has been writing media critique for about 10 years and...
Why the fuck haven't you watched it? What the hell are you doing? Like, what do you mean... What have you been spending your time? You don't even sleep. You have 2 hours in your life. Go fucking watch it.
Well, I'm sitting there and I'm realizing if I watch When Harry Met Sally, other people win. And other people aren't me. I don't want them winning. That's taking away from my pool of winning. I should be the only person winning at any given point.
When did you decide to die on this hill? When did that happen? How long have you been standing there? How long have you been rotting there?
Well, I think that the hill has always been and always will be, and that is why I defend the hill, my mother, my divine moonlight, my reason for being. I'll fucking watch it. I've been trying to work my way through the why haven't you pile. It's why I'm getting in. It's why I'm finally getting into all the fucking police squad naked gun shit.
I do get that. For sure, absolutely.
It's kind of a bottomless pit. I also have to do things like edit 2 hours of your fucking voice, so you know.
All right. I'm holding my hands up here.
I also caught up with your other suggestion, fucking Frieren. Which has also gently and subtly come onto my radar from Air Radio Logo.
Okay.
But But
I
isn't the real
recognize a receipt. I recognize a receipt when I see one.
but
I
isn't the real thing that it's only been 10 years since when Harry Met Sally was suggested to me. There are centuries to touch it. I do
My
enjoy the
favorite
mix
line.
of gone.
No, you can go on.
Oh,
Go on.
I
You
do
do it.
enjoy the mix of drama versus laughs that her perception of time is played for.
Yes, I.
To explain this, because a bunch of you haven't, read this. Again, they are long lived. They have what can seem to be very plugged in or disconnected personality, but in the context, it's really more of a slacker lived for 4,000 years.
It's yeah. It's sort of the. So there's this sort of old. It's actually kind of not a trope that I've really seen a whole lot lately, or at least not, talked about so actively lately. Where you'll have like not since Lord of the Rings, really, unless I'm forgetting something, which I very well may be.
I think
I'm
it's like a
just
novel mainstay, not so much layer 2 cross media.
yeah. It doesn't just the theme of people who are immortal or just very very long lived. Just a lifetime to them is a lifetime, like a human lifetime to them is but a couple of months, relative, like, or would feel like a couple of months if we were in their position. And it actually is the source of my favorite exchange of dialogue in this series, which is, I don't know, I think they're talking about some delay. Like she's talking with Frieren is talking with Fernan Stark. Like in the dub, his like they
That's fun.
his name, and it's kind of fun. She's talking with Fernan Stark about how they might get delayed, and the delay could be like 2 years. And she says, oh, it's not long. And then Stark's like, yes, long. And it's interesting because it's delivered quite poignantly. It's funny, and it's like in a quiet way, I suppose, in that scene. But it just kind of captures just everything about that aspect of the show, just right then and there. Perhaps a little bit on the nose, but in a way that I really enjoyed. It was my favorite like single piece of dialogue from this.
I think there's not much wrong with being like on the nose in that way or moment from time to time. Like you can play the keys softly for most of the thing, but you do have to. Things have to happen. You have to make points, etc. And yeah, I think that is a great. I think that's a great exchange. I think that I really enjoy the. You could say that's probably storytelling easy mode in terms of emotional heft, but I really enjoy a lot of the sequences with her mentor for that reason.
Yeah, because her mentor's just a human who is very visibly aging just throughout those flashbacks.
Yeah, and for both amusement and drama, there are a lot of little inversions that come with that.
Yeah.
There's even this one great conversation where Frieren basically asks, wait, so do you wish for me to go and learn more about the humans? And Evan's like, nah, you can do it on your own time. Wait until you can go, like, fumble the world's greatest baddie or whatever first. And
Which she did.
It is sort of one of the core bits of characterization to her. Is just missing what could have basically been a... remember that wedding at the end of A New Hope? Or like the big party, like that kind.
The big party, yeah.
Actually, yeah. The big party, New Hope, big party end of Return of the Jedi. On that kind of scale, she basically skips that.
Well, she goes to it and dissociates the whole way through.
Yeah, like it's that ceremony turned into like a fucking Wojak comic of like my feet are cold. This butterbeer is warm. Why would somebody want to scour the Shire anyway?
They don't know they're gonna die in a couple of years. No, I fucking yeah. No, so she misses out basically on her chance to sort of have like a Shepard and Liara thing. And that is sort of one of the, I don't know, what would you call it, like fulcrums of her character arc
Every time
throughout the series.
I hear about someone else and Liara, who I didn't pick, and I think about the shit show of my entire dating life. I wonder if that's just the starter fulcrum. Like, is that where it all begins? Like a healthy person picks Liara.
Like not even one playthrough.
Not fucking one.
I just keep
I've
coming
done
back.
Jack.
That was actually my last playthrough. As I went, whatever. It'll be that kind of episode. Liara is such a great character, and Liara and Shepard's relationship is so amazingly well done that it works just as well, and I find just as much to love about it as a platonic one than I do as a romance. Or as I do as a romance. Like, they just, I don't know, there's the two characters, like Shepard and Garrus, right, have such fantastic chemistry either way you slice it, that it is just, God, I love those two. I love those three. I mean, to me, like, Mass Effect is those three. And, like, Tally has her adherents, and they are not wrong to love her. It was, I don't know, she's, unfortunately, I don't know, there needs to be a top three, like, can't have four in it. I don't know. But
if there's no losers, who wins kind of thing in your head.
Yeah. She rounds out my top five, certainly. And then Mordin is also, like, kind of.
I think I rank Mordin ahead of the fucking romantic relationships. Like, he's fucking.
Morgan might, not Morgan, that's my wife. Mordin might in fact be the best, like the single best written character from that series, just from a, arc's perspective. But shit, fuck. Frieren.
Okay, Frieren. Transition has a. Okay, yeah, so she fumbles the world guy, who's the guy who also is the head of this world-saving adventurers party. If you were to elevator pitch it much more efficiently, it is this long-lived person living out their life after what is considered the big adventure of their life, which is where this whole, like, life goes on, how does life go on, and it's something that it tries out in terms of how that plays out, after great success, after crushing, bonkers, ball-stomping failure, which is also an interesting thing, and I kind of, it hasn't gotten lost, but the story hasn't frozen on it, and I just sort of liked Stark's whole thing of being a washout, but it's good to keep going. Otherwise, you end up in that fucking thing where Cersei and Jaime are clutching in a burning building. No, I promise.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
I'm gonna let that go eventually. I will. Before I die, I will let that go. I will find peace, but
remember KOTOR 2 and how the Battle of Malachor 5 is described as so fucking awful that the exile had to basically shut the force out, or he would, or they whatever, whichever one you went with, they would just it'd have killed them. That is kind of what happened to me with Game of Thrones, where I just closed off my heart to it entirely.
Damn.
As I was watching this happen, it's just like, oh wow, I just instantly don't care about that anymore because the other option was completely intolerable.
So I should have done that, and now I'm just muttering in the corner like fucking Kreia. You've built a character without a long-term arc written for them in precise detail. Disgusting. And it's like, God, what the fuck is her problem? Okay, so.
But I like.
Yeah, Frieren has again, Frieren. This is a good chance to talk about the cast then.
Yeah, because I like what you were getting at with Stark, just how the whole failure thing, right?
Oh yeah, he's like just another recasting of this whole like moving forward from this point where, in your head, your life is functionally fucking over, and he's younger, zanier, but that's a fun piece to this because it shows how this same kind of conundrum just plays out for someone completely different.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Is this is about whatever failure that happens to be. Just in Stark's case, it was him his falling out with Eisen, slash, his sort of getting stuck at this fucking town because they think he's cool and he does not want to fight this dragon, and he does not have a third option here.
Oh yeah, and he's like, oh man, I've already fucked up a family and a found family. What the hell am I gonna do with this?
Exactly. It speaks really well to the whole nothing is over kind of idea that this show is playing with, because, failure is an event, and then the thing that happens after that failure happens, and the thing that happens after that happens, and then, it's been years. At some point it will have been years since, you failed, since that failure.
God, I wish this had fucking came out when I was 25.
Yeah, there's a bittersweetness to watching this just with through the eyes of someone like post 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They said post 30 as if 30 is the point in which life's greatest fonts of wisdom are wide open in front of you. Like, as grizzled veterans of the world at 30, yes, we've paid 7 whole rounds of taxes. Don't you mean 10? Yes, 10 whole rounds of taxes.
Well, it does seem, it just not on the whole necessarily, not uniformly, not universally, but it does seem to be the case that, like, the older you get at, like, when, I don't know, I'm worried for myself, because, like, it just seems that one trends towards becoming shitty as they get, I'm wrong. I'm of course wrong. I actually think that, like, Matt Walsh is our age, so it's not necessarily,
I think it's worth remembering how many shitty youth just body bag themselves or fade into obscurity.
Oh yeah, like, just man, you think that you're the one with that you think that you are the one at the trolley lever. And you're not. You're right next to me. You're tied to the tracks right next to me, telling me to cry harder.
Oh, yeah. And let's not forget, read the biographies of some shit people. They've just been gunning it their whole lives. Like, you think Phyllis Schlafly just woke up one day like fucking Dracula? She's been... Okay, that was a good response. But in the long term, she has been putting in that homophobia work, so to speak. Like, you've got to imagine just one of those aughts fucking hype rap songs that she's just replacing every instance of the word nigga with the F-bomb, and that's... But man, I was talking about character writing 10 minutes ago. What is wrong with me? Just kidding.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening, like, today. It's just like there's something weirdly, just, I don't know, melancholy about just the tone of this episode so far. Maybe it's Frieren. Maybe it's the subject matter.
That is something. It is essentially a show about aging and continuing to go after various people or dreams or ideas have died, which makes it sound way more depressing than it is. It isn't. It is very much about...
Yeah, nothing's ever truly over.
Yeah.
That's like even when it is, like, then okay, it's over. What's next? That's like the show kind of in a nutshell right there. So I don't know, maybe I was wrong back there, and it does have, like, one definitive thing that it is saying, but I do appreciate that it is just...
It's not a casual, and a nice thing is that it has multiple things going on. There are also other ideas percolating in there.
Yeah, and it is done through just the characters having conversations with one another, and, like, there's no, like, moment of someone just grabbing someone by the shoulders and being like, hey, here's the point of this show, you were wrong, and this is why, and, like, here's what I'm trying to say because I'm the author for a second here. Oh, wait, nope, back to the character. He's just stepped out of my head, the author.
It's very nice. They haven't also, shoved the idiot ball in anyone's mouth to set up those moments, which tends to be a thing.
No, it seems, although it does, one thing that I enjoy is that, like, this is a show about, like, the scenes that are skipped in another version of this show. Like there's the version of Frieren, right, where they're the big plot points that are hit in this adventure, right? And those do seem to kind of be happening, but we don't really see them as much. Like we will see the little side quests, or we will see just, I don't know, the Baldur's Gate 3 camp conversations. We will see the moments that happen in between like the big ones. And
Yeah,
it's not
it's
as
really
though
decided to
the show
live
is free
there,
of those.
and it's really been executing those well. Like I'm
yeah.
very plugged into all of those, and I've been trying to find the exact way to get into this because I want to put it as more of the strength of those segments rather than the weakness of these. Because I think if you just laid them out and say, "Oh, that's a fun little action snippet," but Frieren is one of the only shows that bets a bit on its action that I grade highly. Where I get to an action bit and I'm sort of just like tapping the desk, like, okay, come on.
Do you think it does it? I don't know. Maybe it's different in the anime than it is in the manga. The anime is just the action sequences are very like just very well directed and do kind of have like that heft, and they never they never oversell themselves or overstay their welcome.
Okay, so
I would
maybe it could be a transmedia difference. Adaptations do occasionally, even in this space, make things better or worse. A quirk of, I don't know how much nerd shit you guys are into, or even just broad media shit, but there's this interesting creative culture thing where a lot of anime adaptations are way more one-to-one in terms of content than just most mediums or creative cultures. Would you co-sign that?
Yes. Broadly, yes. I think almost every time you will see like a change here or there, but yeah, for the most part.
And it's something I appreciate because I am what is known as a fundamentalist. But in this case, though, if they tweak the action, that would definitely be perfectly fine. Because oftentimes, I guess maybe my nerve endings are probably just fried raw from inhaling Chainsaw Man in both eyeballs. So that's one thing I should be like, I don't know, this isn't one of the greatest pieces of violence in cinema history.
Fucking at the burlesque event that I was at last night, that might be the reference to which might be coming out of nowhere if it's like part of our conversation where we were talking about it ends up in like a side or in an extras episode. But at the burlesque event, I was having a conversation with someone that I met there, and one of my friends that I went with sort of joined the conversation, and it had just come up that like that this person was a big fan of Chainsaw Man, and I'm like, I am too. I do still, however, have to read, part 2 of it because, it was on hiatus when I caught up, and then, it was off hiatus, and then I forgot to get started again. Whatever. That's honestly very unnecessary context, because the friend who joined the conversation asks, what Chainsaw Man is and what it's about. And so, like, and I don't know why, because I don't know why I couldn't just tell her instead of saying it's about this really dumb guy who gets sexually abused by almost everyone he talks to, and also it has some of the best action set pieces I've ever seen in a manga. and then the person I was talking to was like, that's not inaccurate.
Hey, I need you to imagine like this super cut between like they cage the animals at night and fucking Fist of the North Star, and
I'm like, yeah, it's about this like dumb fucking guy who gets groomed just like by just everyone, who just gets groomed by this series of just women that he encounters. And also, like, here's a panel of him riding a fucking shark to kill a girl with a bomb for a head, and it's one of the hardest fucking panels that's ever been published.
That thing has been my phone backdrop for so fucking long.
Riding a shark up a building. to kill a girl with a bomb for a head, and also there's a giant
In the history
fucking
of
baby's head.
slowly going insane, that whole sequence completely in context, like not even just making shit up at random. Just well, in this situation, what we should do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. God, oh fuck.
Anyway,
The movie's coming out soon.
Yeah, the action in Frieren does not touch me the same way.
Of course not. Like, how could it?
Of course, okay, it's just because it bets a bit on it, but and I guess for one thing, it's just at the core, even though there's a bunch of it in some arcs, it's not what it's about. Because, like, again, yeah,
no, yeah,
it's about the scenes between scenes, but it isn't because it does take up, I don't know, it takes up its space in this in a way. So I was kind of thinking about that. And it could just go back to, like,
I guess, yeah.
Nothing is really fucking perfect, obviously.
The part of me wonders if the author kind of felt contractually obligated to sort of just put some action in there every now and again, just, jangle the proverbial keys. That's the cynical interpretation of, like, why, because I don't honestly think that there really needs to be much action in this series, and it's okay, and for context, for listeners familiar, the stopping point for, like, the sake of this discussion is the beginning of the first class mage exam arc, which is where it gets pretty combat heavy, or like a little bit more action heavy.
Oh yeah, I just hit there in my reading. I'm kind of tugging my collar, like, oh no, oh boy, oh no.
No, it's good. It's good. Well, I don't know. I'm conflicted about it because it's like a good arc, and it is also just so very, very different from everything that the series was doing up to now, and everything that the series continues to do afterwards. Like, they just, so the cynical
is that
reading,
what gives
right,
you, like, that question of, like, is this editorial asking for their bennies, asking for their goodies, asking for their smarties?
Or the less cynical interpretation, or the more optimistic interpretation, which is the author has just a thing that they think is interesting, which is the magic system in this universe and how it works, and they kind of they like playing around with that, and they like, dedicating, the odd chapter or sequence to that before getting back to, what this was supposed to be about. Which
this won't
I can see that being the case too.
This won't sound like me, but I would actually lean more towards the latter, just because when I read this, it feels very creatively ambitious.
Yeah.
And I honestly can just imagine things that don't land for me as strongly just being an at-bat that hit a double instead of another. When something cranks out homers like this, you just kind of notice those singles. Like, I remember the entire fight with, what's it called? The guillotiner? The beheader?
Oh, Aura.
Aura. I remember she brings out the scales, and it's exposited that when I use this scale, the person with the greater mana wins. And I'm just like, okay, cool. We could just, like, do you want to just, like, smash cut now, or are we gonna just fucking...
That scene worked way better in the anime. Like, I'm telling you.
I will take that on faith. I will take that on faith. We have watched many a media.
Yeah, because I see what you're saying. I absolutely see what you're saying, and just that scene just cooks so hard in the anime. I don't know what to. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I guess there is an art to setting up and executing a good what's the word I'm looking for? Fucking stomp, right?
God,
I will always have
one.
my little core memories of in the Gundam The Origin comic. Thank God, a metaphor within anime and manga. I'm improving as a critic. Just after all the strife Amuro has been going through learning to pull this thing, they build up the fucking Tri-Stars, and he just tears their asses open. He just is like, oh, this is some good food. Oh man. Send more Rick Dobbs.
Get stepped on, idiot. Yeah, I don't know, I guess maybe I should read the manga and see if that sequence does or does not work as well for me there, because it's very well timed. It felt like a very well paced sequence in the context of the show. I think because it was just intercut with / put towards the end of Fern and Stark just getting their getting put through their motherfucking paces, and like kind of only barely making it through. So maybe it was a combination of that and just how really funny of a moment Ara kill yourself is.
It was a nice ending spot. It was a nice ending spot. In terms of when we get Frieren, the full Frieren sort of power level put into the thing. As in, look, the main character's name is Frieren, by the way. This is one of my only decent notes, but in terms of her relationship to the whole demon world things, like, oh, so this is the Stoner Doomslayer. The backdrop is just lo-fi. The only thing they fear is you that you can study to.
Boom, 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 boom. I can't really do it a cappella, or can't do a lo-fi sound a cappella, unfortunately.
And you have to.
Maybe if I cut my hands like the boom, boom, boom. No, not really.
Getting Mick Gordon tones with your mouth just qualifies you for a whole voice acting job. Like, you're D. Bradley Baker at that point.
Just picturing just a looping video of the Doomslayer doing homework.
Okay, so mine was slightly different. Like, it has all of the demons in place for that one picture where the Doomslayer is like holding the one person up with the super shotgun. But she is just there with a book and is just like, fucking right now.
Well, it was... Okay, I need... Fuck me. It's a fucking podcast. I don't have a visual aid, but I'm just... Okay, so it's Doom, right? You know, the very famous cover. You know, like, he's got the chains on one hand, he's holding up the fucking... The demon with his other hand, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just picturing just that one now kind of famous image of Frieren holding up the potion in one hand, while, like making the Anya face.
Hey, for the two of you that joke was perfect for, you're welcome.
Yeah, like
clearly this show was made for you and only you. And to everyone that didn't make sense to...
It would have been so funny. It would have been so funny if it was a Photoshop instead of me explaining an image.
Oh man, it's like we're real life alt text.
I don't need to exist. There's nothing necessary about anything that I say.
Let's see, as long as we're talking about amusing spots within the whole Frieren run, or are these spoilers? Okay, we're in the middle of an fucking hour-long discussion of the manga. It's gonna come up, right? Spoilers, I guess.
I love that scene so much that I actually have a sticker of her holding out a Modelo. It's on my water bottle.
Good shit. I was very amused by Stark's One Punch Man moment.
Oh, just... Yeah, guy's fine. He's got this.
After all this build-up cowardice, just the dry snap.
I feel like, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't think about this before. I'm just kind of realizing this now. Feels like basically everyone in the main cast gets such a moment where just like, and it's always pretty close to their introduction, right? Where they do just completely what would you call it?
Outclass the situation.
Yeah, just like blow away the or just there are low expectations, and then they just completely, like shatter them.
I would say almost the author is fond of that in terms of establishing people. I remember an early example was having Fern fretting over the mechanics of like this defensive spell. Then they get to Lord Fuckington 3000, the demon Hellking.
Oh yeah, it's
just a complete non-entity.
It's
her trade
fine.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's a trash mob. Okay, it's just the big trash mob, but like a trash mob all the
So
time.
we gotta kill 6 of them to get 5 pig ears to trade it.
Okay, speaking of trash mob, and I guess sort of returning to the conversation game mechanics universe, the magic system in this, is it I feel like I looked at our notes and I feel like we came to two different places with the magic system and if it feels more like a game mechanic or more like an in-universe science. I kind of landed on it feeling more like the latter. What's I don't know, what's your where are you at with this?
I guess I would say that they definitely do tilt at what you were describing. I think that some of it does come across the way. A lot of it, the tone, the diction, and the logic, just still feels straight video game element wheel kind of shit to me.
Yeah, I guess the if there's one if there's one point that I will concede, it is that oh god, what the hell is the name of the spell? Like the spell has a name. It's that like it's the like the kind of everyday use
Soul
like
Trek?
blast it. Zoltrak, yeah, Zoltrak. Just I don't know that it is extremely like just Fire Raga coded to me. Just it's like just the name of like that offensive spell that you would use in a JRPG. Just pretty much by default, unless you were unless you had some opponent that was weird or had some resistances. Yeah, so I get that. I'll concede that one for you for certain, or I'll concede that one to you for certain. I do like the effort that is put into making magic and the magic system feel not like just a mechanic of a game, but a facet of the universe. Even if like, yes, there's still it carries some baggage with it from isekai, from these game mechanics verse works.
I think a point of balance on this point the way I would put it, I, Denardale, professional diplomat. No, I, Denardale, occasional word person, full-time nerd. I would describe it as sort of fulfilling that core promise of a lot of this post-isekai medium of just how would it feel if this stuff were real or how would it feel if this stuff were lived in.
Okay.
I would like it is something that just lives up to that premise, and most stuff just fucking doesn't.
It don't. Yeah, because it doesn't.
Like,
because that's not why you're
like,
here.
to me,
it's like you're not here to imagine things. You're not here to imagine anything other than winning this video game. Like,
because like to me, a lot of this basically plays out like I'm interested in this basket of human metaphors. Here's all this game shit people are familiar with. I can filter all of that through this, and that is the appeal and success of Frieren, basically.
yeah, okay, yeah, I buy that. I buy that. I buy into that one. I guess it's strange. It's strange because Frieren is this show that I feel like I am almost not giving it enough credit because of how low my expectations are, or slash were for it. And so I like because it is very quickly become a show that I really really like and can just turn on and just get something from almost every episode. There was I think like a majority of the episodes I watched were so affecting to me that they left me just a little bit misty-eyed here and there. So I definitely don't want to undersell like how much I got out of it because it's like a lot.
Yeah, it is rich on those
but
fronts.
I feel like I have been sort of giving it backhanded compliments by being like, well, it built something, half decent out of all these shitty parts. It is truly a testament, I think. It's truly kind of it's truly a testament to how good this shit is that it can feature so many parts that historically, have been at best imperfect ones. And still have the effect on me that it did. It's a show that got me thinking about stuff that I had not really considered. Like this might be an all timer for me. Honest to God,
It is something that to me has achieved something that's immensely how do I put this, creatively ambitious, and I use the word achieved here very specifically because I think it gets there, and I think it almost anything I've quibbled about is just the natural rickety of anything that wasn't like handed down by fucking Adam to Mozart while Salieri cranked it in the corner or whatever. But what the fuck did whatever? Okay, so
no. I mean, I get it. But like, you heard how I introduced Chainsaw Man to my friend.
yeah. So, and it has achieved this thing of like
online.
it is someone who is interested in these super soft moments and this super abstract achy thing about aging and living and failing, and then is looking at the world like, okay, so what are the kids into these days? What's my in here? You could choose like the 100 girlfriends that really love you, and to the right is like 1,000 RE0 knockoffs. And a guy going, guess we RE0 now. And here is me talking about just sort of the soft days after a friend's death in RE0 world. But the thing is, it fucking gets there, and that's kind of the nice thing about a creative curveball is that I could talk up my ass all day. You could kind of just do what the fuck you want if you're good enough.
Yeah, and to the infinite credit of the author, whose name I really should have just had here. 2 secs.
By the way, what they pay me for at Columbia, other than yelling at them that genocide is bad, is, just look at their kids and say, yeah, you can do whatever, just do it well. And like, thanks for that. This has been a great $200,000, you fuck.
Oh, interesting. It had a writer and an illustrator just separately, which.
That sounds like a way to keep someone from going fucking insane.
Yeah. Kanehiro Yamada is the writer's name. Tsukasa Abe is the artist's name. Yeah. Fantastic character designs from the latter. Just by the by.
Didn't the Death Note team, wasn't there next comic about the process of trying not to burn out and go crazy while making a successful comic?
Yes, indeed it was.
Man, that is so fucking good.
That's pretty great, yeah.
It's like they made both Apocalypse Now and Hearts of Darkness.
Or like,
I know this isn't where it goes. It can't be where it goes. They have a different perspective on it. But I just imagine, like, one stand-in holding the other by the collar and just screaming, like, telenovela style, L is dead! The comic is over! We have ended the comic!
I want to believe with all of my fucking heart that line was delivered to the Shonen Jump exec, and the Shonen Jump exec's response was, "Get your filthy fucking writer hands off of me." Know your place, trash.
Oh my god. Fucking incredible.
You're not just going to kiss this ring, you're going to lick it.
It hasn't been washed in some time.
I did not like the last 10 episodes of Death Note, folks. I think that they ruined the point that was trying to be made. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, it's fair. There's some real Death Note GT vibes to that shit.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It's a scarier series when light wins. Its horror is kneecapped by his eventual defeat, and it's just that simple to me.
That's a fair point. I was just thinking like block to block storytelling, but that's a
Oh yeah, and the block to block storytelling is just it doesn't it's just it's still good because it's still
do you want to
but like it's
do you
just
want
not
to
as
reread that shit and do an episode about that? That'd be interesting.
oh that's so many balls of text. It'll take me a while, but
I'll put it in the pile.
we'll put it in the pile. It might be a rewatch thing for me because I fucking love that anime.
Oh, they really crushed the shit out of that one. So, anyway, before I lose track of my name and why I'm here and what I do, thank you all for being patient lately. I had to move, which
That that's a thing that will take up some that'll take up some time.
I had to move. Seven do some personal shit. We are still here with you. Also, honestly, in terms of like podcast output, these things are like an hour and a half long. You'll live, but we are getting back on the more consistent horse, and we appreciate you all. This has been Weeaboo Hell.
It is
Weeaboo
Weeaboo
Hell. Fuck cops. I hope the president kills himself.
Here's the thing about skate parks as a non-skater. I feel like the shit is all laid out at random.
So I don't disagree with you because I don't know why every skate park doesn't just have a fucking half pipe. What makes you think I do not want a fucking half? It is the basic. It's the thing.